Everybody loves you, man. You're the man.
Well, everyone loves Ronny. Who doesn't love Ronny Chieng?
I don't know about that. They're forcing it. They're forcing it. So yeah, you one of those guys who's become so rich and famous. You have to do Broadway now to get your kicks.
Yeah, that's it. I'm slumming it in theater. Right?
Yeah. Because you came from theater.
I did. Yeah, I started my training here in New York and went to drama school here at NYU and. That's where. Oh yeah, NYU. Drama School. Look at that. And so yeah, I did theater for a number of years before heading out to LA.
Right. And so that was where you learned your craft and you would run around town just being a theater kid in New York City.
Yeah. Whatever little I know, I learned here.
Okay. Well, man, we all. I don't know about little, but definitely. I wish we all could learn as little as you learned in terms of acting. And what is this play about?
So it's a semi-autobiographical play. I don't know if you know the playwright David Henry Hwang.
Yeah, the legend.
Yeah,
the legendary David Henry Hwang.
Yeah. He wrote a play called M. Butterfly that ended up winning a Tony. And at the time, in the late 80s, there was a play called Miss Saigon that came to the U.S.
Yeah.
And that play was famous because it was a white actor playing an Asian role with taped up eyelids and all that kind of stuff.
As they should.
That's right. That's right. And that's what the play is about. No.
That kind of is what it's about.
It kind of is. So he ended up protesting that.
David Henry Hwang ended up.
David Henry Hwang, yeah. So he ended up protesting that, and then ended up. This play is about him writing a play where he actually. For his next play, it's a little bit meta. He ends up mistakenly hiring a white actor to play an Asian lead in his own play. And so that's what this show is about. And
right.
I play David Henry Hwang.
Sure, and that actually is based on a true story, right?
Yeah, so much of this play is actually based on true events. The Miss Saigon stuff, and he actually wrote a play called Face Value right after that, which was based on Miss Saigon. And that play, the story of the casting of that play, is in this play. So
this is like Inception. It's play Inception, and I guess you just get attracted to extremely convoluted plot lines I lost and
That's right. That's right.
And the idea, one of the main themes of the play is the idea of whether or not people of different races can play other races as actors.
Yeah.
So in if we go to the source of the Inception, the genesis of it was Jonathan Pryce playing a half Asian man in Miss Saigon.
That's right.
And that's what caused the initial. And David Henry Hwang, being an Asian American activist, kind of spoke out about it.
Yeah.
And then he accidentally casted a white guy to play it.
Yeah.
Because, but I guess what is your stance on that as a actor, a respected actor in the theater community?
Well, I think it requires a lot of thought, whatever you decide to do. And I think part of the reason there was so much controversy around it then and now is because it was just assumed that people of color would not be able to play themselves, and that it was okay for people who were not African American, say, to put on blackface and then pretend to be African American. And it's the same thing with Asian Americans. But we're in a situation now where there's so many great Asian American performers, you being among them.
Please do your film. I don't know about that.
Right? And so there's absolutely no reason why Asian performers should not be playing Asian characters. Now, I think the thing that gets a little bit more nuanced now is whether we should be nationality specific among Asian Americans.
Right.
And that is an interesting question too. Like, should people of Japanese descent only be able to play characters who are Japanese? Or even more nuanced, should they be able to play Japanese American characters who have no connection to being Japanese nationals?
Yeah.
So these are really interesting questions, and one's worth exploring.
Yeah, and as president of all actors, what is the answer? Can we play it or not?
Well, honestly, I have an opinion about it, and it's kind of a hot take, but
go for it.
I think
that's how we get our clicks. Let's go. Zoom right.
Here's what I think. I think that we shouldn't be limited to playing people of our own nationality, because I always think about the 8-year-old who's watching TV. Can an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old watching TV tell that I'm not Japanese or you're not Chinese? Or, if they cannot, and there are a couple criteria that I actually think about. Is this character historically based? Is there cultural significance to a particular country in the character that's being played? Or is there a language requirement that requires a level of authenticity? Or is it based on a real character that is of that ethnicity? If those things are in place, I do think it's really important that the actor be of that same nationality, of that same specific ethnic origin. But if not, and we're talking especially about Asian Americans, then I think it's perfectly fine for someone who's not, say, Korean to play a Korean American. Right. Because if we're just playing Americans, that's the emphasis, right? Because, we're not talking about people of specific countries
sure.
and those specific things.
So, for example, someone who looks like me, why can't I play an extremely good-looking person?
Well...
Why should I be limited?
That's a different conversation.
Yeah. So you've been in show business for like almost 85 years now. So what based on your, I hate to ask the generic questions, but like you actually have the authority and perspective to talk about this. So how have you felt the industry's changed since when you first started, when you were running around Hell's Kitchen?
Oh, back in the old days.
Running around with Charlie Chaplin.
No,
yeah.
That's right. So when movies just started getting sound.
Right,
yeah. We've made a lot of progress. We really have. Like when I first started in this industry, there was a common misunderstanding that Asians were not funny.
Right.
Like back in the 90s, people thought, oh, Asian people are not funny, but there are no Asian comedians out there. And it took people like Margaret Cho, Ken Jeong, and you, and Jimmy O Yang, and so many others, just to show that, yeah, we've always been out there, we just haven't been seen that way. So, so we had that misperception. There have been a lot of stereotypes that we've worked under for a long time, but we're breaking through them. The fact that you're here right now hosting this show is a big breakthrough.
Okay, well,
It's true.
True. Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's true. Yeah.
What can I say? I'm making history with every dick joke. Yeah, that's funny.
And Bowen Yang on SNL, for instance, first Asian American cast member, and then
Well, yeah, that's the context in which I know you. You've always been very supportive. When I first met you at the Comedy Cellar, you're always very cool to the new guys, and so I really appreciate you being a mentor and showing us the ropes and looking out for us and all that. So thank you to yourself and the OGs, Daniel Dae Kim. This one play was actually Yellowface was already. It's been mounted before in 2007, right? So this is like a mounting of the play. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like do you feel the context of it is different now?
Yeah.
Like it was first put on in 2007.
Yeah, that's
right. Now
right.
in 2024 now.
Yeah, and I actually think it's as relevant, if not more so, because the stuff David was talking about and trying to address in 2007 wasn't really topical then. He was actually ahead of the curve in talking about things like, ethnic authentic casting. People now kind of see like, well, of course that's what we should be doing. But back then, they didn't think that. Right. So now in the wake of George Floyd and BLM and, Stop Asian Hate, there's more of an awareness of, what's appropriate culturally and what we should be trying to aspire to. And so what's crazy about this show is that there are a lot of real-life figures, very prominent people like Dick Cavett and Frank Rich.
Who appear in as characters.
And during the time when David was protesting, they were on the other side of the issue.
Right.
They were supporting Yellowface casting. Right. But now they've all changed their minds and said, you know what, we've evolved on the subject, and they're a direct barometer of how far we've come.
Right.
It's a great testament to all of them that they're willing to be in this play and say, yeah, we made the wrong call on that one.
And do you have, anything you want to say to Jonathan Pryce? Whatever his name, for putting tape on his eyes, or you want to call him out?
Well,
right
I will say
this
is a direct quote from the play. Jonathan, Mr. Pryce is an excellent actor.
Okay, wait, what? enough to play Asian. A white guy, straight up British white guy playing Asian.
But I feel bad for him too, because he was doing what he thought was right at the time. I bet.
Which is put tape on your eyes and play an Asian dude. Yeah.
But I think if you were to ask
Who
him,
amongst us hasn't tried to do that?
I'm doing it right now.
Well, yeah. Thanks so much. I could talk to you for hours, but you got the play to actually do. We're taping this before the play.
That's right.
Mr. Daniel Dae Kim, very gracious, one of the greatest actors of our generation. The sharpest cheekbones on television. We appreciate it. The Broadway production of Yellowface is currently in previews and will open October 1st at the Todd Haynes Theater. Daniel Dae Kim, everybody.